Maybe you know him as the voice of Maryland racing. Maybe you know him as the voice of the Preakness. Those of us who follow Maryland racing every day know him simply as the best in the business. Dave Rodman is going to join me momentarily here on Maryland Racing Today. My name is Frank Vespi. Maryland Racing Today is powered by the Racing Biz, theracingbiz.com, presented by our friends at the Maryland Jockey Club. Maryland Racing Today is part of the Midlantic Racing Today family of podcasts. Please do like and subscribe. A little bit later in the show, John Piassek and Mackenzie Pfeiffer are going to join me. We'll take a quick look back at this past week of Maryland racing and a look ahead in Maryland and beyond. For now, here's Dave Rodman.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Get up and go make lunch. I don't know.
You can if you want to. I mean, I don't want you to starve here.
Into a cooking show, yeah. Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Why haven't I thought of that previously?
Yeah.
Healthy Din Din? Maybe we could call it Dave's Healthy Din Din.
Yeah. And liquid refreshments.
Liquid refreshments. Absolutely. Absolutely. We could have Jack Harmon come by with red cans just to help us out.
Very good.
All right, Dave, I just played the clip of I Love Giraffes.
I love giraffes. Sticks her neck out. I love giraffes by 3. On the outside, trying to close the gap. Mambo Queen. She's coming home. Mambo Queen to the outside. I love giraffes. I love giraffes and Mambo Queen. I love giraffes by a long neck.
And my question to you is, do you come up with stuff like that ahead of time, or does that pop in your head in the moment?
Well, I saw the name and in the entries and handicapping the race, and just had it in the back of my head. And I said, well, it'll never happen that way where I could use it. But it turned out like it was almost scripted out, like the horse knew, that stretching his neck or whatever at the 8th pole. And then I forget, I didn't even listen to it. But I just I usually just jot it down in the racing form, and then maybe transfer it to the program, just put a line down just in case. And if I happen to remember, that's great. But with a name like that, it was hard to forget.
Well, it's funny because I was on
but if they were called I Love Elephant, that would be hard to forget.
Yeah, that would be he'd be stomping home, huh?
Right.
I was on BAL radio at the time that race went off with Scott Wyckoff, and Scott played the race call during the show, and that led him to kind of go, Dave's the best. Isn't Dave the best? And oddly enough, I had another conversation with somebody this week with trainer Andy Simoff about Dave being the best. Your ears must be burning.
I don't know about that, but you don't want to overdo it. But in a case like that, I mean, it just the whole stretch call kind of just wrote itself. I mean, and it wasn't a stakes race or anything like that. So, I would use it. I mean, I wouldn't go crazy if I Love Giraffes ran in the Preakness, and maybe a little more low key.
All right.
But just you just go with the circumstances, and if I do something like that, I try not to do more than one a day or one a week.
Yeah. Now you came to racing through your dad. Is that correct? He kind of introduced you to it.
Oh yeah. My earliest memories are going to the fairgrounds in New Orleans with my father. He was, I guess what you call back then a $2 better, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But he did keep tabs of every wager on the back of his program. So after the first race, he was up $12. It would be plus 12. The next race, he bet like 4 more, plus 8. He'd always keep it. Now, whether he kept that in the long term, I don't know. But just, at least for the day, I don't recall him being a big gambler, but he used to like to, I'm sure he would bet $10, $20, $30, whatever, which is big at that time.
Sure. Yeah.
In the 70s. So, yeah, I mean, back in the day, you could win $90 right here at the old fairgrounds
Is that the old fairgrounds behind you?
building. Yeah. And,
Oh, wow.
$90 would get you Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and potatoes lyonnaise and things a la carte still is, I guess, there. But I don't know how much $90 gets you nowadays.
Probably
But
not very much.
you could have a nice steak dinner by hitting an exacta, back then. But inflation takes its toll, I guess. Yeah. So he used to go to the fairgrounds. So my earliest memories are the old building and walking in the clubhouse and seeing the characters around. That's back in the day when there were not one, not two, but like maybe 3 tip sheets. And the guy, as soon as you walk in the admissions, the first thing he would see was the program forms, whatever, and another guy at another table hawking tip sheets. Collier for winners, Collier. There was a sheep named Collier. I don't know. Jack's Little Green Card. I forget the ones but I do remember Collier was one of them at fairgrounds, and I'm sure many tracks too. They all had their different versions of. And of course, the famous, after the horse wins and pays $20, print the tip sheet out with the winner. Kind of drop them on the ground. Yeah. I don't know if that was done or not, but it seemed to me like it was that way.
Well, it's like the scene from Let It Ride when they're coming in and the guys there had the daily double. So
Yeah.
on the tip sheet.
But fairgrounds and Jefferson Downs, and at the time of Jefferson Downs, he used to sneak me in past security because you had to be, I forget whatever the age was, and the security, it was at there were turnstiles across the admission gates, admission gates. So you pay your admission, you go through the turnstile, and the big window on one side with security, and they're supposedly looking for, bad characters and people underage trying to sneak through. But we'd always go on the far turnstile, and I would get just to the right of him and kind of rush through.
You ever get busted?
No, not really. I think he was kind of pretty friendly with a few of the security people there too. So, but I wouldn't wander around. Would sit up in the corner of the grandstand where the tote room was, and there was another window. So if your horse won, you would actually see the payoff on a kind of a light bulb kind of screen. It wasn't a flat screen, obviously, back then, but there was a board that would post the numbers up sometimes before they would actually appear. I guess it was direct from the placing judges, but then the prices would come up immediately in that little tote room. So you knew what your horse paid or what the exacta paid, a minute, 30 seconds ahead of everybody else.
Which is huge.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. He was a big factor in my love of racing, and handicapping. And I'm trying to recall, maybe somebody out there might know, he had some kind of system with like 5 markings, and one would be T for time, like best time, then FGT would be, say, fairgrounds time, and then he would take the weight of the horse, the weight being carried by the particular weight of the jockey that day assigned, minus the speed figure, and whichever number came out to be, I guess, the smallest number of the equation, that would have another marking. It would add up the last 3 speed figures in the program. And so if a horse had an 85 and an 80 and another 80, you'd write down 245 and circle that, and then you'd sort it out. But it's just basic handicapping things.
All right.
Kind of like what I do today. No, just kidding.
Oh, exactly. So that would have been the old school speed figs, right? Like the ones with the variant next to it.
Yeah, right, with the variant back in that day.
Yeah, yeah. And it leads directly to
Marks.
the
There were
dog figs.
They had mud marks. The
Oh
dog figs.
yeah.
Yeah. That's it. You fulfilled your contractual obligation by mentioning.
I think I actually owe one more dog fig reference, but
Okay.
I figured I'd get one in early.
Yeah. So in my own mind, I kind of do my own figures today, thinking that they're the, maybe some kind of breakthrough. No, so yeah, everybody has their own way of handicapping.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And then, so then a few years later, you were walking hots, right, at Jefferson Downs?
Well, I was in radio at the time, and a jockey friend of mine, Vince Graffignini, said, hey, my uncle's looking for hot walker, come on the backstretch. So I started walking horses at Jefferson Downs in the morning. And then in the winter, when Jefferson Downs wasn't running, I did walk a few horses for Frankie Brothers back in the day, and Jack Vanberg, Billy Mott, that you just kind of freelance around. But as a young person with no direction, I wasn't very consistent at showing up, just kind of get enough money to kind of play the horses later in the afternoon. So yeah, so the backstretch experience and eventually kind of leased a piece of a horse with the trainer I was working for. And we won a couple of races, very kind of slowish type maidens. Hammer Down was one of them, and This Time Try was another one. I remember that, but Hammer Down was like the big horse. That was fun. Show up in the winner's circle with your Journey T-shirt on, or something. So so that's how kind of the backstretch experience is how I found out about the first job opening, my first job at Jefferson Downs. Rick Mocklin, who was the announcer at the time at Jefferson Downs, got a big offer from some people in Houston, some owners from Houston, who wanted to put some money into the business and buy a good horse and claim a bunch of horses. So they bought Monique Renee, who I think there's still a stakes race at Fairgrounds named after Monique Renee. There was a few years ago, but she was very, very fast, very fast. So he left to train for them, and that's how I kind of wandered up into the booth. He put me up on the roof and let me call a few into a tape recorder, or try to. And at that time, I was making, $2 exacta boxes, and I would call the first turn and then kind of put the binoculars down and just start watching the race. Because I was serious, but I wasn't serious about it.
Right.
And just kind of, hone my skills over time. And one night they kind of threw me in and said, here, call a race. It was like a Thursday night, which was a slow night, I guess, back in the day, in the evening. Funny you mentioned that, because we were talking yesterday at Fairhill. I had a pop-up visitor in the booth, spent pretty much Tony Bentley, who was also,
okay.
Yeah, he's called more than 87,000 races in his life. That's his tally. He's called everywhere. He was the announcer at Fairgrounds during my time there in my early 20s. And, he's got to call the Arlington Million one year. One year he was Arlington Ptolomeo John Henry. That's in between Phil George F. But he began his career at Penn National. So
wow.
he called at Delaware Park back in the day, a long time ago. Anyway, he popped up and watched a lot of the Fairhill races from the booth yesterday. A lot of past influences kind of coming back
Mhm.
And Rick Mocklin, who left the job to train horses, eventually became a jockey agent,
Hmm.
and for Randy Romero, and I think he had Mark Guidry, I think, at one time. I'm not
Okay.
sure, but and then eventually he's back into training again, and he won his first race back in training at the fairgrounds back in December. He got his trainer's
Is that
license.
right?
Yeah, so he's training again. So everything comes full circle.
That's a funny thing about this game. How
Yeah,
was the Fairhill? How'd the Fairhill, how'd it go yesterday?
tight turns.
Tight
That,
turns.
and I kid you not, everybody talks about, oh, Pimlico tight turns, but the
All
one thing
right.
about it is, um, first they go down the dip into the far turn. There's a dip into the far turn. The stretch run is basically uphill. If you
Hmm.
stand at ground level, you can definitely see both angles, far turn, and then the uphill run. Uh, and then in looking around from the perch, I said, well, the 3/8 pole, wait a minute, where's the 3/8 pole? The 3/8 pole is actually midway on the turn.
Oh,
So
okay.
the straightaways are longer and the turn's very tight there.
Hmm.
Of course, we didn't run the flat meet there
Right.
Sunday because of weather, and the steeplechase is run on the outer part of the turf course. So it was different. First time I really called it a track with it, with undulations like that.
Hmm.
Um, Getting it, and at least once I know, I said a half mile left to go, and it was actually 3/4 of a mile left to go. You didn't believe, I'm used to straight across from me at Laurel, basically.
Yeah.
But anyway, neither here nor there. Um, yeah, so it was good. I think people had fun. The turf course was held up spectacularly well. I mean, I
Oh,
thought,
good.
despite all the rain. And
Hmm.
and then the last race, the 3 mile timber race, with 12 horses going 3 miles, turned into a photo finish. That
Really?
Yeah, and it was a long photo finish, a long
Hmm.
photo finish, and I was pretty sure the outside horse won. I didn't definitively call it, but implied that. And yeah, it was at least like 5-6 minute photo finish, and finally they put the numbers up. But when they put the photo up, I went, never again, because there's no mirror there. It's not a mirror image. It's just old
Hmm.
straightforward
Yep.
uh, photo shoot down, not like Laurel where you've got the you have the mirror image line, and
Hmm.
where the line is. But I said, where is the finish? I know the pole says finish, but is it there or is it here?
Right. Is it right before, right after?
Yeah. So I think all things considered, I mean, the crowd was. When I walked in the morning, I said, "Wow, they've got all this food and all this booze," and they were lined up. So
Okay.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Um, now, I saw a quote from you that you were talking about at Jefferson Downs. They let you call a race on a Thursday, and
Hmm.
you said you called the wrong horse as the winner, but they gave
Yeah,
you the job
I think
anyway.
it was Mountain Host and Slimane. I have the program somewhere, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to mess up. But I guess they liked my voice and they needed the announcer for the next season. And at least I recall it being the wrong horse, or implying it was like it would may have been the structure of the call, that
Hmm.
sounded like the second horse won.
Right.
Very green, didn't know what I was doing. But eventually the next season, you know, just picked up every race every night, you know,
Hmm.
and it was and we had some matinee cards too, so it wasn't all night racing.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, so I'm guessing as a little, a budding little degenerate in New Orleans going to the track with your dad, you probably never envisioned being the guy who called like 35 Preaknesses.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I spent like 5 years at Jefferson Downs, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, 5 years, Jefferson Downs, and then heard that there was a job opening at Louisiana Downs, which, Fairgrounds, the biggest track still with the winter meet was the prime meet, but back in the day, Louisiana Downs had the Super Derby.
Oh yeah, which was huge. Like the winners out of the Super Derby for years were unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. And Tony Bentley called Louisiana Downs as well. So going back to that, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier, because so I followed Tony. They started like a Red River Downs meet, was like an auxiliary meet after the main meet, and I called that, and then the next year worked there as the full-time announcer. So, but it helped me tremendously, because that was Fairgrounds use owner's silks, and my first track was one is white, one is red, two is white, three is blue, 4 is yellow, 5 is green. And I'm not talking about caps, I'm talking about the entire silk. So it's kind of hard to mess up.
Yeah.
But I did. No. But they had some oddball patterns, I think, with the 10 and the 8 were some kind of odd colors. It wasn't exactly the color code that's used today across the country. But so gravitating from standard color silks to Fairgrounds and owner silks, and then the bigger challenge going to Louisiana Downs, a big profile track, the summer Super Derby, multiple stakes races, turf, dirt, using owner silks was a big challenge and a step up. But looking back on it, you just say, well, it just happened.
Right. So do you when you're calling races, is it more the silks or more the number that you're looking for?
Oh no, the silks worn by the jockey on the silk. And
right.
There are multiple, and we have a lot of that, nowadays with like uncoupled entries that we have, like Jerry Robb, No Guts, No Glory Farm. You might have 2 horses in the same race, and they're both wearing a red cap, and they're both wearing the same silks, and they both have no blinkers, and they're both chestnuts. But one has a pom-pom on the hat.
That's the X-Man.
You go by whatever distinguishing characteristic on the cap cover. One might have like a white pom-pom. So I'm looking crazy enough for the white pom-pom, and if I can't tell either one, I'm looking for a shade of a saddle towel, whether it be yellow, green, white, whatever it may be. Yeah, you use a little bit of a combination of both. But it's not just calling about it. You can't really do that at Laurel, because the main track at Laurel is a little bit lower than the turf course, honestly. And in the wintertime, especially, then the snow fence comes up, and if there's 3 or 4 across the track, you really can't tell one saddle towel from another.
So then you came here and you was it Milo Parents you took over for?
Not directly, but yeah, he was the full-time, and now, but John Curran was actually calling races here when I started.
Is that right?
Yeah, he filled in for several months in the winter. Prior to that, might have been Jahan Mallerby from South Africa, I think. And there was apparently some trouble getting a visa issue straight with him. And then of course Trevor Denman called 2 Preaknesses, 2 Preakness runs as well in the interim. So it wasn't one to another. There were a lot of I'm probably missing someone at Laurel or Pimlico. Who were kind of interim and filling in between type of people. But yeah, John Curran, when I drove into Laurel for the first time and went up to the booth, it was John Curran from Delaware.
Who did Delaware for years. He just retired a couple of years ago.
A great race caller, very enthusiastic and consistent. I mean, I'm going like, why'd they hire me? I don't know.
Your first Preakness then was Hansel, right? 91.
Hansel, 1991. Yeah. And that was the ironic part, because I had come from Louisiana Downs, where Frankie Brothers was the kingpin trainer there for many, many years. He won multiple titles at Louisiana Downs. That's back in the day of Frankie Brothers, and C.W. Cracker Walker was kind of the claiming trainer guy. You know, if there was a claiming race, he had a horse in it, and if you had a claimer that looked any good, he'd claim it from you. But Frankie Brothers was more the high-profile kind of trainer. He trained a lot for John Franks, who was a influential owner in Louisiana. So to come to Maryland and have the first Preakness winner trained by someone from my home area, it was quite interesting. I'm glad he drew off, because top of the stretch it was pretty much over, because I was really nervous.
Yeah.
The binoculars were shaking. That's back in the day. Actually held the binoculars and put my elbows on. And then over the years, then I went to I put them on a monopod, and then eventually I'll use the binoculars that Tom Durkin uses and Larry Colmus uses, which are image stabilizers. So they're battery operated. So even if you shake, the image is stable. But just to be sure, I'll put it on a monopod and keep it even more stable. Except for the 3 mile timber race at Fair Hill, because the battery locks in for only 5 minutes. Well, the race is 5 minutes and 58 seconds. So, as they rounded the final turn, I'm going like, why is this shaking? Am I not nervous? I'm thinking to myself, and I realized, after 5 minutes, the image stabilizer kicked off, and I should have just pressed the button again. But
I see.
But it came at a crucial time when they were rounding back onto the main track from the timbers, way out in the country. So it wasn't as bad to see as I thought it would be, though. They started way out off the third timber, away from the main track, away from the turf course at Fair Hill, basically out in the countryside. Luckily, we had a nice cloudy day there, and wasn't any glare, wasn't any fog or mist or rain, because it was foggy earlier in the day on Monday morning.
Yeah, well, it's been raining like for a week now. So.
But yeah, that's the first timber race I've called, so got that in the book.
Hey, check that out, huh?
Steeplechase, timber, thoroughbreds, Arabians, mules, quarter horses.
So you did mules in California when you were out there, right?
Yeah, the California fairs had mule racing, right? They would start with maybe a quarter horse race or a mule race, or a combination of the two, or maybe a couple of quarter horse races, then a mule race, then the thoroughbred card. Yeah, it was fun.
How many years did you do Cali?
Just one time. Yeah, was it Pleasant? Yeah, it's Pleasanton and Sacramento. Did both of those meets. Not the entire fair circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. And
after I left, I think that Chris Griffin came in and did the fairs, and then he winds up in New York.
Right. He had been was he at Sam Houston, and then he went to Parks, and then New York?
I'm not quite sure of that, but he was my good buddy Frank Maramati. Helped him out tremendously in his career as he got. He helped me with the California gig too, because he couldn't do those meets because he had to go to Southern Cal. Yeah.
Which what are some so a favorite call of mine a favorite call for me of you is the 97 Preakness Silver Charm.
Yeah. Don't fall in love with this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You like that one? Okay.
I do. You don't?
Well, yeah, I do, but it's probably the one that got a lot of publicity, and I know Andy Beyer wrote it, nice flattering column about it. But I mean, that's back in the day when I was almost trying to scream over the crowd, so to speak. I thought it was a little. My tone's changed a lot since then.
So you feel like you're a little over the top at the moment?
Yeah, but it kind of deserved to be an over-the-top race, right?
It's a tremendous, unbelievable horse race where you got 3 horses in the photo. Touch Gold almost falls down leaving the gate, and then he's a length behind, and a local horse in the photo with Captain Bodgett.
Yeah, Gary Capuano, Captain Bodgett, and there were like 3 or 4 or 5 different moves and elements to the race. Touch Gold stumbling, Captain Bodgett made a big move. Then he made kind of another move, if I recall, and like he was going to get by. And then there was a 3-way battle, and they came out of the the shadow of the Pimlico grandstand. It was a bright sunny day, and right at the wire, just before the wire, the shadow of the grandstand ended, and there was a big ray of sunshine. And it's like, and too, it's almost like a nostalgic thing, because the video, when you go back and watch it, I mean, the video that is not 70s Secretariat style grainy, but the technology's better today than it was back even in the mid to late 90s. Yeah. So now it's all HD, and you can see every little, if a horse has cotton in his ears or whatever, you can see that. Back then, like, it was a mystique almost there's a mystique about going back and looking at some of those older races, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
A lens to the, I don't know, to the we'll never have this anymore kind of.
And get off of my lawn while you're at it.
Yeah, really. Those were the days, my friend. But yeah, now everything's so digital and clean,
Yeah. No, it is funny looking at those older videos on YouTube.
But which is also a help, especially at the old Pimlico, calling Preakness there. I mean, many times been saved by going to the television monitor and the clean digital or HD feed. Saved me when horses went behind the tent or behind a stage for a 1/16 of a mile or more.
Sure.
You can't really see them, and you have to hem and haw a little bit and kind of glance down at the monitor, just thinking in your mind, like, are they from behind the tent yet or not? And then going back up and hopefully, you can pick them up from where they were,
Right.
Because if you glance down at the television a little bit too much, then you kind of lose your places to where they were in the track.
So you just called, you've called a million Preaknesses at Pimlico. You've just called now the only one we think that's going to be a Laurel. How is that different for you?
Well, because there was no infield crowd, no tents. I could see the whole thing, and that actually almost made me a little more nervous. Like, now I have no excuse.
Don't screw up this time.
Yeah. But I'm just so used to the booth at Laurel. It was just like a normal day almost, because the bulk of Maryland Racing's is held there now. So, but quite used to the pattern. I was a little bit worried, like going into the first turn. Sometimes there's a bit of glare on a sunny day, but it turned out it wasn't really that bad. So yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. The second wire finish is a little bit different than Pimlico. So that I think it was the first race, was a little bit, my heart jumped a little bit, just like I called, I knew they passed me, and then there was going to be a close finish, and kind of looked over to the monitor, and the pen shot was far back. and I knew the horses, but I'm going like, wow, I'm lucky I remember the name instead of trying to think split second Silk versus name, because so that was a little bit that first time for the first wire finish early in the day was like minor heart misstep.
Do you still get nervous?
A little atrial fibrillation there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you get nervous on a big day?
No, not necessarily nervous anymore, but just more try to concentrate a little more, maybe a little more intense, and nervous in the sense of binocular shaking. Those days are kind of behind you, but you still have to realize that there's no edit button, there's no delete button, there's no rewind and splice button, and I can't reverse what I say and then puts other words in it, and change the call. I mean, I guess I could if it's really that bad. You could go back and do it, but you have to realize you try to, you just try to maybe think a split second, think for a split second before you actually say something. Especially especially during a critical part of the race. But this Preakness was, I think, kind of a clean cut, race. I mean, I was expecting maybe with that many horses coming to the first turn. I know the run to the first turn was a little shorter, but I kept looking around, seeing if anybody checked or steadied or got shuffled out. I mean, I think only one horse got in a bit of trouble, Robusta, which I didn't see. I was in another part of the race, and he just kind of steadied a little bit. And, Keith and Bill from Equibase caught that, and that's in the chart. But other than that, it wasn't in a situation with a Fleet Alex, and the recovering, and it wasn't a three-way go up in the air until the very end. 97 Preakness. I mean, I thought it was a pretty clean race for that many horses.
No, I agree, and it seemed like it was pretty cleanly run, and it was a clear winner, and it was the best horse won. Like that, nobody could really make a case that I got in trouble or I would have won or I got cooked in the speed or whatever. The best horse won. And I don't know that he'll be the best horse every other race, but he was the best horse Saturday.
You just hope that you're in the right place to say at the right time, because the binoculars I use are 15 by 50. So I'm zoomed in to I can see maybe 3, 4, 5 horse lengths, something like that. So if something happens just behind wherever you happen to be at the time or ahead, it's more likely you're going to miss something that happens in the tail end of the field when you're up front than something that happens ahead, because if something happens ahead, there's kind of a chain reaction, and you can quickly go back to the front.
Yeah.
But I mean, I miss stuff more than people know. I'm sure, but
well, you can't catch everything. I mean, you're trying to. I assume. Do you try to give every horse a call during a race?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost a challenge. It's like with the steeplechase yesterday at Fairhill. I mean, even though the back ones weren't doing much, it's just your own mind game. Like, can I do this? Can I get through the whole thing? Can I call it? Can I call the whole field twice? And but again, that's sometimes when you get caught, like you're on the second time or third time of calling the whole field twice, and you're back here, and then something happens up front. Right. So, and especially when the race quickens up and the pace is slow, you're gonna, maybe you're gonna want to go back to the front. Yeah. So,
do you go back and listen to your calls?
No,
like after.
Hardly ever.
So once you made the call, you're done. You're on to the next.
Well, I mean, Laurel does replay it, and I actually listen in the sense that just more for that was too fast a tempo, or that was too in that critique sense. you know.
Mhm.
But you know, I mean, if I make a horrible mistake, I'm sure I'll hear about it, right? Uh, no, you know, yeah, you know, um, I really don't. I'm not that rough on. I mean, yeah, some of the old Preaknesses, like I say, you know, it's hard. You're going to hear them over and over again. You know,
Mhm.
and yeah,
Um, I was reading a couple articles. I mean, you really have called some stuff over the years. I mean, two Triple Crown winners, obviously, a bunch of horses that won two legs, including the Preakness, but not the Triple Crown. But you also had Artax and the guy taking a swing at him.
yeah. It's funny that video somehow popped up on. It must have been you.
I did it.
Somehow that popped up on X this morning. I think I
Is
saw
that
it.
right?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
the head on. Yeah, and yeah, that was a surprise. 1999, with the guy coming out on the track intoxicated and taking a swing um, at the horses. So, you know, in the sense that you plan out things, you know, I have a few things written down, a few phrases written down that I just kind of go through now and then, just in case something happens. And so, if that
Mhm.
ever happens again, I know what I'm going to say.
You're prepared for the second time a
Yeah.
drunk guy gets on the track to take a swing.
Let's
Well,
hope it
good.
was very, very, very dangerous for all involved.
Yeah, no, that was kind of a nightmare. So the other part of the story there, which is completely random, but earlier in the day, Lou Albertrani trained Artax, and
Mhm.
he had showed up at the press gate to Pimlico, and they wouldn't let him in because he wasn't press. And he said, "But I'm training a horse that's running later on today." They're like, "Sorry, you're not press." And then his brother Tom had a horse and might have even had a horse in the Preakness at that point. I don't remember, but he came over and he's like, "No, that's my brother. He's a trailer." Like, "Sorry, he's not press. He can't come in the press gate."
Uh,
So it was a great day for him,
but
obviously.
the I mean, yeah, I mean, aside from Preakness runs, I mean, all the great local horses that have really, you know, been in Maryland circuit in the last 35 years, you know, like a Ben's Cat or Extra Heat, you know,
Hmm.
those are really kind of the fun horses to call it. Local horses that kind of develop a following,
Hmm.
um, you know, go on to win again and again, or to maybe develop a rivalry with another horse. Horses that show up in the Maryland Million over and over, kind of those kind of.
Hmm.
I know I'm leaving somebody out, but you know, um, just the two that pop into my mind. You know, Extra Heat, obviously a big fan favorite, and the Great Ben's Cat as well.
Yeah.
Last couple and 8 to Fast to Catch. You know, horse that wins a lot,
Hmm.
uh, or horse that likes Laurel.
Silmaril was another example of a horse like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
She
Silmer
won ground
beat
out $1 million in
and beat who did he beat?
Ashada,
Hmm?
Ashada,
Yeah,
Ashada. She beat Ashada.
with odds
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah. Well, Ashada was the filly and mare champion from the year
Yeah,
before,
but I think it
and
was like she was like 1 to 5, 1 to 9,
I
right?
think there were only like 4 or 5 horses in the race after scratches, um, and yeah, my Silmaril was like my wife's favorite horse. So
Everybody's
um,
got their favorites for one reason or another, right?
I think that's right. Who's yours?
Hmm.
I said, "Who's yours?"
Oh, mine. Uh, that's running Maryland.
Sure.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'm gonna have to say Ben's Cat. Yeah. I mean, I've mentioned him 3 times, so obviously it might be. Yeah. Just because he was a cool horse to call. You know, he got into that gear. You know,
Hmm.
in the stretch kick that he had, and the whole story behind him, and King Leatherberry, and you know, Yeah, he would be probably top three. I
Yeah.
think of who else. I could say the last horse I bet on that won. No, I'm just kidding. That's another myth. I do not bet the races that I call. So.
Now, let me ask you this. So you do a few times a day, you come on and you handicap the race, and so you'll say,
Yeah.
this is, how I see this race and whatever. So is it hard at all for you? Like, if I gave out this horse who's 10-1 and he's locked in a life and death with another horse, is that hard to?
My selections are there, and I'll do 2 or 3 times a day come on and maybe make a comment about how the horse looks on the track, and but sometimes they win, sometimes they don't, so certainly that's in the back of your mind. Yeah, I'm following it, but it's not like oh my god, if this loses, there goes the gas money.
Right. You're not live to a big pick 5 if this horse comes in. So
right. I mean, I used to. I mean, more so back in the day than now. But I have in Maryland, but in recent years, the answer is no.
Is that just like a personal decision?
Like Trevor Denman told me, if you ask to ask, the answer is no.
Alrighty then.
Says no. Yeah, it's just kind of a personal decision to keep more of a cool head and a honest face value in the race. Now, after the races are over, no, yeah. So I mean, and I still follow. Simulcast wise, like everybody does. You look up at the screen, you see something, you write it down, and you mark it down. You might bet it back next time out.
And here comes fulfilling the contract. You might have dog figs on horses running at the fairgrounds, for example.
Yeah. Those are the easiest ones to make because I know nothing about the horse. I haven't seen it run. So you play the pure figure play, so to speak.
Right. Spicer Cub.
Oh, there we go. I knew I was forgetting someone. Yeah.
It's that's one of the other insane things you've called.
I know why I didn't mention that horse. Yeah, that the Spicer Cub race with the X-Man, for those who may know nothing about it. What year was that?
2013.
2013. Yeah. If you look up Spicer Cub, the YouTube video.
If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll pop up the video as Dave talks through it.
Okay. And it was the last race of the day. That was right, if I recall. And horse tried to bolt out toward Northern Parkway, and eventually we drifted to the outside fence in mid-stretch and kind of went off the screen, but I could see that I kept watching the horse because he was running pretty much straight to the starting gate. It was parked parallel to the outer rail, and the X-Man didn't jump off or bail out or steer him back inside. He went between the starting gate and the outer rail. I don't know how many feet that would be, but ran between the starting gate and the outer rail, and then managed to come out unscathed, and then battled down to the line. And it's probably one of the most erratic but thrilling stretch runs I've seen. And people say, "Oh well, whatever happened to him?" He wound up winning after that, right? And I think a couple.
So.
Yeah,
it was a horse with a little bit of talent. Obviously, some issues to work through.
Yeah, but my point is that that was 2000. What did you say?
2013.
2013. Who won the Preakness that year? Do you remember?
I do not. It was 2 years before American Pharoah, but I'm not sure that gets us anywhere.
Well, the last time I checked, the Spicer Cub video got more views than the Preakness winner did that year. So, a number of views.
Yeah. No, it's a crazy thing because, as you said, the horse tried to bolt like on the turn, and then X-Man kind of got the horse straightened away, and then all of a sudden it just hooked a right in mid-stretch and like went straight out to the far rail. And you're right, how X-Man didn't bail there. He's a braver man than I am, for sure.
But if you know the X-Man or anybody who's ever talked to the X-Man, you know why he didn't bail, because that's him. He's going to stick with the program, right?
Yeah, no,
all
sure.
credit for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned out to be a thrilling race, and one that everybody talks about today. And again, even back then, it's almost a grainy-ish type video, right?
Yeah, it's probably not great.
So again, the mystique of an old race that people remember.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Dave Rodman. Anything else you want to touch on here? We've covered the territory.
We have any time to cook up a little jambalaya or something? I mean,
that's it. Healthy din din. All right, Rod Dog. I gave you 2 shout outs for the dog figs. I think that fulfills my obligation here. I appreciate your coming on.
I should have had one prepared, like a dog fig special of the weekend, since the entries are out for a Laurel, but oh well. I guess you'll just have to look at the selections and listen to the show in between races and see what we come up with. And I'll have to send you a free exclusive sheet of the dog figs.
Ooh, and if one of them comes in, woof.
Woof. Hey, I got the woof in. All right.
All right, Dave.
Let me know what day you're on. I'll send you the figs.
All right, will do.
Right.
Dave Rodman, thank you so much for joining me on Maryland Racing Today. Maryland Racing Today, powered by the Racing Biz, theracingbiz.com, presented by the Maryland Jockey Club. Now here are Mackenzie Pfeiffer and John. Happy to be joined, as we always are here on Maryland Racing Today, by Mackenzie Pfeiffer. She is the newly married on-air analyst at the Maryland Jockey Club. Congrats, Mac. Welcome back.
Thank you. Everyone's making this a big news item. I did not realize it was such.
It is. Yes, it is. It's always a big news item when people get married. I don't know. People like to see people they like be happy. So, and then John Piassek covers handicaps Maryland on the racingbiz.com, and you can also see his stuff in the MJC's handicapping guide. What's up, John?
Well, I have not had as exciting a week as Mac, but I have also been doing well, and I'm looking forward to talking about both, not only this coming week's races, but the past weekend's races, because we had a lot of big stars make their local comebacks.
Well, why don't we start with that? I guess let's start with last year's top Maryland bred 3-year-old. That was Barbadian Runner. He had made his debut a little bit earlier at his season debut at Charlestown, where he couldn't quite get to Patinga's twin. This race on Saturday, John, we'll start with you, kind of set up a little similarly in that Anthony Ferrier had a horse who figured to be Lone Speed, Indy Charges On. Difference was they were going 9 furlongs instead of 7, and Barbadian was in close attendance throughout and then pulled away to win easily.
Well, I was saying going in that the fact that Barbadian Runner almost beat Patinga's twin in his first start off such a long layoff spoke to his heart and class, and that if he took any kind of step second off the bench, he'd be able to wear down Indy Charges On. And that's exactly what happened. Indy Charges On got the fractions he wanted, but Forest Boys kept Barbadian Runner, as you said, close to the pace. The two raced alongside each other in the stretch, and Barbadian Runner kicked on to win by 5 lengths. Now, no one got rich betting him. He paid $2.60 to win. Drew Aller Exacta paid a whopping $4.40. But it was nice to see him get back in the win column for this season. I saw in your story that it sounds like he's pointing to the deputed testimony stakes on this track on closing weekend for summer meet. And we had speculated that he might have the Charlestown Classic on his radar screen. Future testimony would certainly be a nice prep for that. So based on what we've seen in his first 2 starts of the season, it's safe to say that he's just as good, if not better, at 4 than he was at 3.
Mac Henry Walters, his trainer, said that he's kind of bigger, a little bit more mature this year. That's got to be bad news for all the other horses at Laurel not named Barbadian Runner.
I have to agree, John, a great lead up there to it, because that's sort of where your mind goes, is how do these horses come back? Barbadian Runner is one who I think we've seen a huge evolution. If you even go back to his 2-year-old year and how quickly things just sort of turned around, not turned around, but came together for him. Once the pieces started falling into place, it was a domino effect in the right direction. And we saw that all throughout the 3-year-old season. It is a big ask, and I think you did a great job emphasizing that. Patinga's Twin, a really impressive horse to go ahead and run into in your first off the bench and put up the effort that he did. And then again, with the one that we saw this weekend, he just kind of cruised right along. Indy Charges On had some chance to kind of put a little distance there. He was on the inside, maybe saved a little bit of ground, but Barbadian Runner, just all racehorse. So now that he's had a real prep going a little bit further off the bench, I think we can expect another step forward next time.
We'll be excited to see him this year. He had an old school campaign last year. He made, I think, 12 starts. I mean, he's as you just said, Mac, he's all racehorse. So looking forward to seeing what the future holds for him. But it seems like, as John said, the immediate future holds the deputed testimony. Mac, a favorite of yours came back Friday. Lizzie Merriman sent out Whitty for his first start of the year. They came off the turf. She wasn't very happy about that. But apparently Whitty had been basically knocking the barn down to get to a race. So it was time, and he's almost as good on dirt as turf anyway.
He is, and it's kind of funny. I mean, he's a big horse, so if she says he was knocking the barn down trying to get out and get something in the afternoon, I think probably demanded that everyone listen. It's a little bit lighter coming back this year, but grays do that with age, and certainly doesn't look like he's lost a step in that sort of first off, really getting a chance to get out there. And I'm excited to see where we get him next. He certainly has an opportunity to continue with a big campaign, as we've seen in recent years.
Lizzie said probably, although these things are always subject to change, probably Woodbine. There's a grade 2 up there that begins with H, but
the Highlander.
The Highlander, thank you. I always want to call it like something else, but yes, the Highlander. Although they've shortened the Highlander from 6 furlongs to 5, but she thinks the long stretch there will play to his benefit. She also said she's gonna probably try to put him in the Ben's Cat, and he won't get in because Maryland breds and Virginia breds get preference, and he is neither of those things. So probably won't get in. What was your take on Whitty, John?
I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. Obviously, it was a somewhat watered down field with it coming off the grass, but he looked very sharp, made a nice move from off the pace. He's now won races at ages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and he's won a stakes race each of the 5 years of his racing season. I don't know how many horses in history have done that, but it really speaks to how cool and as tough a horse he is. You know, as you guys said, he's excellent on dirt, excellent on grass. He's really done it all. I think to keep his streak alive of stakes wins, the Ben's Cat would be an easier spot, but he's done very well out of town in the past, and he is also inching very close to $1 million in career earnings. He has $947,882 after his big win. So really one more decent effort, and he gets over the $1 million mark.
Yeah, it's quite a career. He's a half to Caravel.
And he would also be, I think, the second Great Notion progeny to earn $1 million. Coastal Mission was the first.
Oh.
And I wanted to point out the race that we saw from him this past weekend coming back. There's a comment that's usually in the running line of almost all of his races where everyone talks about him not getting away well or just, not really there early on. And that can be sort of a detriment in these smaller fields. But he was one who he looked like he was really carrying himself into the race, wanted to be back. So to see that in an older horse coming back, I think it speaks to Lizzie saying that he was dying to get back for the afternoon show. But, Saxton, a horse who is perfectly fine on the dirt as well. And, Whitty just tipped out wide and kind of made a big move gobbling ground. He has a huge stride, so I'm not surprised. But I thought that was a different race than we've seen from him in a while.
The one thing Lizzie said is he's good on the dirt, but he doesn't like dirt in his face. And she felt like the smaller field was going to work to his advantage and Barbosa just kind of took him outside of the speed and kept him pretty much out of the dirt. And then he went and got him when ready. So it was a fun horse. It was a cool horse. And we'll look forward to seeing him in the Ben's Cat or at Woodbine or wherever he shows up next. And regardless of your help, John, I will nevertheless forget the name of the Highlander Stakes by the next time he runs. So there's that. One other horse I wanted to touch on. I wrote about these three on the racingbiz.com. Superstitious, last year's Maryland Million Lassie winner, gets her first win of the season.
And second off the bench, I mean, she came back, found rerun table in the end of April. Not an easy field that she ran into either. So, fair price, but exciting to see her kind of coming back. And she might have some really nice targets for the season.
She's probably headed to Colonial next, is what trainer Robbie Bales and owner Rick Reiser told me. You're right, Mac. You raised a good point there. This was a pretty nice field. Rerun Table has really come to heel the last 3, 4, 5 starts. She's been in very good form and really ran a good race here. And the third place finisher, Ludmila, is $1 million yearling who won nicely at first, asking for Justin Nixon. It is a half to the $10.5 million Flightline colt, which probably makes their Dam Lucrezia the richest in terms of progeny sales probably of all time.
Yeah.
And yet the only one to win so far is Ludmila, who has one win. I think one other has run one time. So, but a lot of people spending a lot of money, John, kind of on spec.
Well, Ludmila got so much buzz after her maiden win back in November, and deservedly so. Justin Nixon had sent her down to Tampa Bay Downs, hoping perhaps to get her on the Kentucky Oaks Trail. Didn't quite work out. She didn't make a start at Tampa over the winter, and she got tons of hype on the board. She went off as the 7-10 favorite, in spite of it being, as you guys said, a very competitive race. I did not think she looked that comfortable in the first half of the race. I mean, she fell far behind. She had gotten to a bit of traffic trouble. She did find her best stride late, made up some sneaky decent ground, I thought, ended up third, beaten by 4.5 lengths, well clear of the long shots in the field. So I think for her first race in about 6 months, it was a promising effort. While you won't get much of a price on her second time off the bench, I figure she is going to take a big step forward. She's very likely going to win if she stays at this level. And she could be one who makes a lot of noise, not even just this year, but possibly in her 4-year-old season and beyond in like these 6-7 furlong local sprint stakes.
Well, it'll be fun to see. Actually, the top 3 out of that race, it'll be fun to see where they show up and what goes on going forward for the 3 of them. Speaking of going forward, what do you guys got your eyes on for this weekend? Mac?
In Maryland or for the Belmont?
Anywhere you want.
Belmont, I was Team Renegade into the Derby, and I'm excited to get him back here. I'll be curious how things are bet, though. I think he's very much the horse to beat this Saturday.
He's the morning line favorite at 2-1. Golden Tempo, the Derby winner, is 9-2 on the morning line. John, what are you looking at?
Well, I'm passionately cheering against Golden Tempo as I did with Sovereignty last year. It didn't quite work out last year. But, if Morning Line holds true, I think Golden Tempo could be a pretty square price. I don't get why Chief Wallaby is a second choice. I know he had gotten a lot of hype going into Derby week, and I think he's just going to get more hype, because of the mod factor. And that could lead to Golden Tempo going off at a bettable price. We'll see. I will have to dive into the race a bit more. One thing I do know is that there's a few horses with local connections this weekend. Brittany Russell is going to send out Federico Tessio winner Taj Mahal in the Woody Stevens Stakes on the Belmont undercard with a new jockey named in Manny Franco. Then on Friday, in the Wonder again, also with Franco aboard, she will send out Coach Missoula, who won the Hilltop Stakes last time out on the Black Eyed Susan undercard.
Well, that'll be something to keep an eye on. Graham Motion's got a couple in the Turf Stakes on Saturday. But it's probably Chad Brown's world, and we're just living in it because he's got favorites everywhere you look. He's got 3 in the Belmont. I don't need that. We don't need that in our lives, do we? We don't need all these Chad Brown winners in our lives.
Well, I mostly know Chad Brown as the guy who comes down here once or twice a year with some overbet maiden who goes off at 4 to 5 and sometimes wins and sometimes burns up a lot of money. So I guess we'll see how he does in New York this weekend.
We got some allowance races at Laurel this weekend, a couple of maiden specials we can keep an eye on. But it does feel it's a little bit like last weekend we had a bunch of really nice races. This weekend looks like it might be a little quieter. Then next weekend we start getting into stakes action with the Stormy Blues on Sunday. And then at the end of the month, we got the DeFrancis and other major races. So a lot of things to look forward to there. Anything you guys are looking for at Laurel this weekend?
Well, I know the de facto feature race on Saturday is race 8. It's a fairly nice second level allowance optional claiming for fillies and mares. My top pick, and the likely favorites are not being too clever here, is the 4 Intrepid Mo with the Gary Capuano, Yedzi Hazelwood Dream Team. Hazelwood, it should be noted, took last weekend off. Now he's back here and ready to do some more damage. This filly's making her second start off the bench, led a long way and finished 3rd, beaten by less than 2 lengths against a similar group of this one at Delaware Park last time out. This blew the doors off the field when she was last seen here against First Level Company in December. I think she has a lot of upside, and even if you won't get much of a price on her, I am looking forward to seeing her run. Then race number 9, First Level allowance of fillies and mares going a mile. The 1 doesn't hurt to float is kind of interesting. She's been on the local scene for a long time, trained by Kelly Rubley for a long time, now making her first start for the Mike Stidham Bar. She's been working for him over the past few weeks at Delaware. She pops up with a good effort once in a while. I'm curious to see how she does for the new connections.
You worried about Intrepid Mo back in a week?
Not particularly. I mean, maybe it's just my hope that trainers would run their horses back this often, but at least locally, I have seen trainers do this many, many times with horses, so I don't really, unless the horse is proven they cannot run well up a short grass, I don't put too much stock into it.
And I think to build off of that, the barn does so well with having a good base under their horses that in that setting, I don't really find myself as concerned with a horse on a quick turnaround from the barn, just because I don't think they've completely emptied the tank, even if it is first off of the bench.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, you can't argue with how the Gary Capuano barn does here at Delaware. They had actually another half to all the Intrepid Dream, Daydream horses debut and win at first asking, I think not last week, but the week before at Delaware. So something else to keep an eye on there. All right. Anything else you guys have you want to touch on?
So we talk about the Gary Capuano first off the bench, right? But race 9 on Saturday, not first off the bench, but first in the barn. Madison Myers, 50% in 6 starters for first start with trainer. And she has one in there. Taco Cat backwards. I think the form is somewhat reasonable, but I just kind of found that sort of interesting. Digital sale purchase for 15 in April. They have every reason to go ahead and protect this one in various different ways, but they decide to go here. I think that one's kind of interesting, especially with the way the barn's been rolling.
When you see a horse like that and there's an angle that's that the barn is very strong with, are you inclined to bet or use the horse even if the form doesn't really measure up?
100%. And that's why I pointed out, because there was one a few weeks ago who I liked quite a bit and, just thought sort of interesting, saw it in person. The barn always turns their horses out looking really well. And I think I had wondered, has this one been in the barn? I should go back and find who it was. But, have they had the horse long enough that this really applies? And ran a huge race. I'm pretty sure it won. Maybe it was second. But either way, I was satisfied, and I think I cashed a ticket on it. And so that's where this one sort of stood out to me, where the form, maybe you question it. Oh, it was a first on turf, actually. First on turf, maybe not this time. Anyhow. So I think that's the type of horse who, if you can kind of get 5-1 or something around there, and it looks like the race where you probably will, it's one who maybe I'm just going to play with in the exact on the tries.
John, what about you? When you see an angle like that, are you batting?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think because there have been many times where I'll make note of an angle, and even though the horse has no other really established form, the horse will pop at a big price. So I think angles are an absolute must use. Even if you're not playing that horse to win, if you're playing a pick 4 or a pick 5 and you're able to spread, you can throw in a horse like that, and oftentimes they'll lead to a big score.
I just found it, the Money Monkey, and it was the Not This Time, $19,000 digital purchase in March, came back for the 30, never won 3. First on turf and gate to wire.
Yeah, he's in today at Delaware.
Well, regardless of how he goes today, I don't know if that transfers for the stat here, but yes, I will watch it.
I'm just letting you know.
I actually thought she ran a pretty good race too. So we'll be curious to see how she does second out.
All right, that's going to do it here on Maryland Racing Today. John Piassek, Mackenzie Pfeiffer, thanks so much, guys. We'll catch you next week. That'll do it for us on this week of Maryland Racing Today, powered by the Racing Biz, theracingbiz.com, and presented by the Maryland Jockey Club. Maryland Racing Today is part of the Midlantic Racing Today family of podcasts. Please like and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. We'll catch you next time on the Midlantic Racing Today family of podcasts. Thanks for listening.